EVOBEAN Roastery here. We're going to walk through how coffee is roasted. We're going to start with the actual roaster itself right here. So this is a Lila roaster. It was made in Brazil. It was actually manufactured back in the mid-80s. It was the first Lila machine brought to the United States. Old roasters actually carry a lot of style and can roast better coffee. The reasons are is you have seasoning. So this is what's called a drum style roaster. You can see that there's a large plate on the front of this roaster, and if you look inside of that sight glass, you can see little paddles coming by kind of quickly. So there's a cast iron drum inside of there. The coffee will tumble inside of that drum. That drum is where the seasoning builds up. We don't actually ever clean that drum. We want flavors from the beans to actually coat that. So an older roaster will have years of seasoning, years of flavor built up inside of there. It's kind of like grandma's iron skillet where you don't ever wash it. You can ruin the flavor from years of hard work and cooking in the kitchen, and a roaster is the same way. So a batch of coffee starts in the green form. We'll show you green coffee here in a minute. Drops into the roasting tank, which is where that drum is. We'll sit in there for about 15 to 18 minutes. Goes from essentially room temperature up to about 450, 460 degrees in that time frame. A couple of changes take place. First of all, coffee will lose about 20% of its weight during the roasting process. That weight is just moisture that evaporates out of the bean. The other thing that happens is coffee will double in size. That doubling in size is actually the sugars inside of the bean starting to caramelize and crack and expand the bean structure. We have what's called the first pop and the second pop during the roasting process, which is the second pop or crack is at the end of it there. That's where we're actually seeing the final development of the coffee. We'll pull the batch out for a light roast or a dark roast or whatever that blend we want it to come out at, somewhere in that second crack. So that's where the brown color in coffee is actually just the sugars caramelizing during that roasting process. So the beans come out into this bin right here, which is called the cooling bin. And the point of the cooling bin is coffee becomes exothermic at the end of the roast, meaning it will start to produce its own heat. So if you weren't to stop that roasting process and cool the coffee off, it would continue to roast, start to smolder, catch on fire, and we try to avoid fires. That's usually not a good thing around here. So if you cool it off, there's a large fan that sucks air down through it. And once it's cool, it's put into the bins and then bagged up fresh for each order.
How much coffee is in here?
Yeah, this roaster will roast approximately 100 pounds per batch. Okay. So about 150, 120 pounds goes into the roaster, and about 100 pounds comes out each time. So in an hour, with the turnover, getting beans loaded and whatnot, we can do about 3 batches an hour, so we can produce about 300 pounds an hour is our capacity on this machine. Let's go over here and look at a couple more features of it. So in this bin, we have what's called chaff. This is a light skin that breaks off the back of the bean during the roasting process. It's bagged up right here. It makes a great organic fertilizer. It's a really good mulch to add into soil. We have a local composting company that takes all of that away for us and uses it. So that separates into there. You have the actual burner right here. You can see just some more parts of the roaster. So this is our heat source. So the way this particular roaster works is you fire that burner into this chamber. That large chamber runs at about 1400 degrees. You're drawing heat through those black pipes down over the coffee for the roasting part of it. So most of the roasting happens with the hot air passing down over the beans. All the smoke is then recycled back down to this burner. So we incinerate everything so we're not polluting at all. So there's no heavy smoke heading out the stack. There's no, nothing at all. It's all reburned. So we have both an oxidizing feature here, reburning the exhaust, and then also the roasting feature from one burner. A lot of roasters use a 2-burner setup where they have one at the roaster and one on what's called the afterburner, which is this chamber back here. We utilize just an enlarged burner on the afterburner. It allows us to run more efficient. We burn about 30 to 40% less natural gas than a standard roaster on the market right now. Green coffee is back here. So this is coffee to us. You see it's a lot smaller. They're very dense. A normal coffee bean you'd be able to break or crush in your hands. These you can't at all.
And they're white.
And they're, white or kind of a green color. You can also see that kind of light skin on the back of them. That's the chaff that actually breaks off. That's what we saw in that other bin right there during the roasting process. So these seeds, there's actually the flat side. So a coffee bean has a flat side and a round side. There's 2 of those cupped together in the cherry. It's actually a cherry or a fruit that's found on a tree. It's one of the only fruits in the world where the fruit's simply thrown away and the seeds are used due to their value. Coffee is the 2nd largest commodity in the world. Oil's #1 and coffee's #2 from a dollar traded standpoint. Another cool fact about coffee is it's the second oldest traded commodity. People or sex is the oldest thing traded, and coffee and salt are right there at number 2. Cool fact.
Are these all different blends then?
Yeah,
Or-
so these coffees are, each one of these beans represents a bean from a specific origin. So we have like an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe right there. We've got a fair trade organic certified Sumatran coffee. Sumatrans are really, really easy to pick out. Notice that deep kind of green color to them. A lot of parchment or chaff still on the beans. They use what's called a natural process in Sumatra, where they actually pick the cherries, lay them on patios, let it dry, and then break the cherry off the bean. Versus some of the cleaner looking coffees, they use the wash process, so they'll actually pick it, strip all the fruit off, and actually wash and polish the coffee before it gets bagged up. So you've got Mexican coffee, you've got Nicaraguans. When you get into some of these Central and South Americans, the lei, they look all the same.
Yeah.
But the flavor in them can be very different. All the flavors from coffee are drawn out in the roasting process.
What's this dark one?
This dark one is decaf.
Ah.
So coffee is decaffeinated before it comes to us. So
Okay.
a decaffeination plant has bought the coffee. This is a Mexican decaf right here. So they bought the green coffee. They put it through their decaffeination process. We use 100% water processed decaf. It's rebagged. The caffeine that's pulled out is sold to Coke, Pepsi, those kind of places.
Yeah.
And then the beans are sold back to roasters. You can kind of go down the line here and just see some of the different coffees we have. At any given time, we have probably 20 to 30 different origins or coffees from different countries on our shelves. So we have all of those coffees offered as a single origin coffee, and then we take multiple of those and blend them together to create house blends and French roasts and things like that. So we'll actually put up to 5 or 6 different beans together to get very unique and distinguishable flavor that we can control and no one can really reproduce, and that's what makes our coffee different and special from others. That's about it, really.
Okay. What's that big thing?
What? Where? It holds shipping peanuts.
Oh. Okay.
It's not real exciting.